Welcome back to the episode. This is part 2. I'm talking about the focuses that I focused on to hit 6 figures inside of my business, what exactly I had to navigate, what that actually looks like to build an overall brand by being very, very specific. That's what I talked about in part 1 and kind of the story, what I navigated, my aha moments. So if you haven't listened to that episode, I would start there because I'm going to really show you, maybe it'll also provide you some clarity and aha moments of what you can maybe navigate and clean up in your business and focus on to help you scale. But overall, to sum it up, I basically realized that I had to be known for something very specific in my community. I had to really look at my brand as a whole and realize it's not about just I'm creating helpful content every day, but I'm creating content that actually gets people's attention and solves their problems every day. And because I'm specifically solving their problems and I'm giving them an idea of the vehicle / the framework that I'm going to help them get by also being clear on the transformation, that is really what gets people's attention, right? Because they don't, not only do they see your offer as a solution, they trust it, they're likely to say yes without many hesitations. Like they see you as the light at the end of the tunnel. Like this, you have to be in problem solving mode. And I share kind of what I did in that episode of, to do that. And in this episode, I'm going to talk a lot more on what I focus on in terms of high ticket after I learned all those things. Now that I was able to experiment and I was able to start to shift my focuses, now I'm going to go a little bit deeper into like what it actually is, what I did to attract high ticket clients. So something that I want to make a point here is selling high ticket is an art. It's not the same as selling a low ticket offer because you're also selling your coaching, you're selling mentorship at the same time. Again, you are being specific because, as the high ticket prices scale, as you get to like 15K, 20K, then the framework doesn't matter as much. And they're really there for other reasons. They're there for the exclusivity of who can join the program. They're there for different reasons. So that's kind of what it looks like as you project and kind of to give you kind of clarity in terms of creating a high ticket offer with a specific outcome versus like a mastermind, like bigger, where you're maybe more, there's more one-to-one focus. People are buying because of the community that they're a part of, et cetera, et cetera. Now I knew that I have to, how to create a signature offer to ever, get to that level where I could do that. I had to create a signature process that I also knew how to do. I had to be able to walk the walk first. I had to have that integrity. So I saw my connection to my audience, which is more so the approach, the vehicle. There's so many different ways that I've been saying it these days in these episodes, but basically I saw the vehicle, the way that I get people results as their solution. I had to really sell that as well as sell the transformation, because if I sell that, the process, then people start to see me as, and see my offer, really not me, just my offer, being a part of my program as their way of getting results, like their solution to the problems that they have. So I had to really create content around that on a consistent basis. And I had to really show why they needed it. So I look at it like, if I'm going to sell somebody on the idea of, like, I'm trying to think of an example here. So there's let's take Russell Brunson, for example, because he's just a genius entrepreneur. But something that you know him for is funnels. You know him for funnels, right? So that's how he starts pretty much communicating with you. That's how he starts building authority with you, is his solution to all your problems. His solution is funnels. And so he educates all on funnels, right? There might be maybe like he separates it and goes into offer story because that's part of maybe a masterclass that he does. Like He might go and separate it in pieces like that and be specific, because, like I was saying in episode 1 or part 1 of this, is being specific always is the best route, because when you're specific, people get clear and they get clarity on what they're going to get, versus being very general and broad and overeducating, and they get confused and maybe they'll find it helpful somewhat, but they're not really sure what to do, which isn't good for you. That you want to guide them to know what to do, and you want to guide them to their problems. So you really got to connect those missing pieces. So you're going to create problem-solving content. And specifically, I like to do a mixture of this value where I am leaning into helping them overcome those small wins, specific wins, where I'm going to be like, yeah, that's the offer story. This is, I'm going to help you maybe sign a client via your stories, like being specific in terms of the overall process, because now I'm giving you mini wins, mini bite sizes, and a little mini examples of the way I'm going to help you overall throughout my vehicle/framework of my process, right? And then the other hand, I have this problem awareness, because I know that there are things that I know my audience is not fully grasping, or they might see these like, oh, you need an offer story. They might see that and be like, not really feel like they know why they need it. They might just think, oh, that could be for someone else, or it's not important to me. You can't just be like, oh yeah, create an offer story for people who don't even know why they should create it. So that's why you got to create problem awareness. You got to tell people, hey, this is the reason people aren't actually joining your programs when you sell. It's because they don't have a connection. They don't have an offer story. So now I'm starting to help sell the fact that they need that offer story. I'm starting to sell that part as well. And that's what I mean is I sell the vehicle of my program. And I basically look at creating a step 1. This is like the step 1 of your program. I look at my content, my strategy there as step 1 of my program, my signature program. Because basically what I want to be doing in this step 1 is I want to be creating this amount of trust where people are getting a taste, because you can't just sign high ticket clients from a call to action, as we learned in part 1 of this. You can't just sell off of a call to action for something generic. You got to sell on something specific and already give them an aha moment or a somewhat tangible result first. Like they need to have already been trying what you are saying, or at least you giving them this aha moment breakthrough of, this is what I need. This is it right here. So that's what I focus on. I'm building trust by having such an emphasis on value and problem solving, and like spreading that out as like little mini pieces of my program. Right? And that's why I do podcasts, because I am actually here. Like what I love about my business is I have to plug in that component too. What do I like to do? Why did I start? I really enjoy just finding a problem, or finding a problem that my audience is having, or that I overcame, and helping people solve that from my knowledge and what I went through, or what I see people doing currently, and that I can give my 2 cents on and help them overcome. That's what I love. And I truly, truly believe that no matter what anyone says, you won't find this on the internet. You won't be able to get any of these lessons in my course for free. I don't agree. I think that there is a way to plug someone's free content and create a full course. But you know why they buy your course, or why they buy your coaching? Because it's not the same. It is different. And the difference in my program versus my free stuff is I'm actually giving you a tangible step-by-step whilst being someone to help guide you. And that is what people start to crave as they start to try to implement it. They start to think, oh, I would love it if, Molly could help me with this with the action plan of this. Like, it makes sense, but I would love it if I could just ask her a question. I would love it if she could help me set this up. This would be nice. And I found myself doing the same thing for coaches that I really liked their method or whatever they were talking about. I'd be like, cool, I don't need them. And then I'd go and I'd try it and I'd be like, whoa, if I could just ask her right now, like, what do I do? That would be cool. But I can't, because I didn't hire her. I just took her free stuff, which works. I think I've really gotten so many results from free things, but I've gotten aligned focus from mentorship, which, by the way, controversial topic. I don't think you need to always have mentorship, but that's neither here nor there. But I will say high ticket, investing high ticket has brought me that, and that's the point of selling it, to kind of have to understand that overall to be able to sell that overall. And that was something I learned is I gotta like essentially see everything I'm doing as a step one. And I gotta enjoy it. I gotta like not like hold too much stress or overwhelm over it. I just have to like essentially whatever aha moments I'm getting, I'm gonna just give that away because that's what I love. I don't care. Like it's like almost like I don't care if I have that bit of a charity because I like it and it feels good when somebody comes and messages me and says, wow, your podcast helped me so much. Or, wow, this post was so clear. Like, thank you so much. Your content's so good. I love that. That feels great. I don't even need your money. Unless you want to work with me, then that even feels better. The container is better, you know? And I remember my mom, for example, she was like, oh, hey, I met this girl who coaches and writes a book. And I told her about you to look you up. And, you know, maybe you can get her a deal. And I'm like, that's not how this works. But I remember thinking, you know, I actually don't think I'd want to work with anybody that you find in me and recommend me to. The reason, I'm not saying that I don't like value referrals. Referrals are great. But in this case, I do need the person who's entering my program. Not that it could literally be a day or two before this happens. I'm not saying it has to be months of warming up, but I do need them to feel respect and trust for the process that I have to be able to get those results. I need them to already like that. I need them to have seen that process, because if they don't, then they're not going to be good in the program. They're not going to trust it very well. And so that's another thing. That's another reason why it attracts high ticket clients. And also high ticket clients are people who are actively looking for a solution. And so that's kind of also why I like to give a lot away is because high ticket clients are someone who loves to learn and they're always looking for another way to learn. And people who are just like freebie seekers, or people that are, I don't want to say freebie seekers, I want to say more of like people who are just wanting quick action are going to only respond to like quick action. Like, hey, I'm looking for 5 coaches who want to achieve XYZ, or I'm looking for 5 women who want to up level. Like what you start to do is you're just angling it the wrong way, and they're not sold by anything else of the way getting results. And then the container is weird because they just want the quick results. So again, like this was the focus of high ticket. I had to really lean into looking at selling the pieces of my offer. Now, I knew that there was a way, like I was saying, to create this value so that I could also let people in and think, okay, I love this. Where can I sign up? Without it being like super overwhelming. Like I knew that I could create a lot of value and give this away whilst also knowing that it's going to come back to me. That's what I had to realize is, well, what's the stark difference is how do I make sure that it happens? Because at the end of the day, I do need to think about strategy. I need to think about how I'm going to make money. I'm not here just to be like, you know, you got to just manifest it and things will come back to you. Like that's just not helpful advice. I do need to think about the strategy. You know, it's not just give, and then like, you know, it'll be fine. It's like I had to also give myself an overall overview of what that would do, while also just kind of relieving pressure at the same time. Pressure to make the sale every time I go, like pressure to expect something out of every time I show up, right? If you are always acting with this need of I need to get if I'm going to give, then it is going to not serve the purpose. But you do need to see how the value is going to translate into sales. Anyways, and it is because like even me starting this podcast, like I'm using the podcast for example because it has done all the things I'm talking about for me as well. And I have signed some of the best clients from it who came out of nowhere when I wasn't really promoting an offer, because what it did was create a lot of connection with my audience and create a lot of trust in my process and program, which is exactly what I would want to do, but it wasn't something I was trying to do. I just wanted to create a podcast because I wanted to and it sounded fun. I already had made 6 figures before I started my podcast, and I always wish I started sooner because I love it. It's so fun. And it was supposed to just serve as an extra way to nurture or extra way to connect with my audience that I enjoyed. But then it started to sign me clients, and I was like, wait, this is even better than content, because it quickly gets the connection. It quickly builds connection faster than any other method, So I had to look at it like, I trust the delivery that whatever the message I have is going to come through if I can separate and not overwhelm people with strategy. If I could really just help them literally navigate exactly how I did something. If I can tell the story of something, then people will understand, the clarity will be there. And that's how the value will translate to sales. Because when somebody feels connection to your results and they actually see themselves in it, they start to believe that they can also then achieve it, which is a huge objection handler, right? It really overcomes that objection of, well, will this work for me though? Can I see myself in it? So whenever you're sharing your story, it's not actually about you, it's about helping your audience see themselves in it, right? Whenever you hear a story that's uplifting and motivational, you start to see that as your way out. You start to see that as your saving grace, as the way toward results. And so it's so important that this is a strong component in how you are showing up and what you are doing overall. And this leads into the conversion story. I'm gonna go a little bit more in depth here. We kind of touched on it a bit here and there on these 2-part series, but what I really mean when I say your conversion story, this is where you essentially do what I was just talking about, where we are helping people see themselves in your story versus being very broad and generic. You're not really telling them the story of overall of how you got here. You're actually telling them the story of what was overcome, what problems were solved for you to now be where you're at, and why you created your program. It's pretty much your offer story. You have to be very specific in that. So pretty much what I did in part 1 was my offer story or my conversion story. I know many of you are like, okay, how do I translate the offer story, overall? Like, first, the step 1 is getting clear on that, right? Actually, like maybe writing it down, sitting down and thinking about it. It's a really good way to introduce your offer. It's really something you should be doing on a masterclass. It's really how you can really market and sell anything when you have a really good conversion story. When you launch anything, when you launch a podcast, that was kind of how I launched my podcast, is I shared my overall story and got kind of in depth there, and people were interested and wanted to see that. Essentially, that's really good. Some good ways to do it. You want to present it like via stories or via your masterclass or via a podcast or whatever, right? Or maybe even have a highlight on your Instagram page where you have that conversion story that then sells your offer and helps people see why they need it, and really, and really helps them see themselves in it. Now, I also create just multiple pieces of content that tell the conversion story in like so many different ways, which is why being specific and understanding the conversion story is important, because then you can translate that in many different ways, as I was kind of getting into earlier, and it goes hand in hand with giving the value and solving the problems. Now that you have the conversion story, you can think about the specific struggles that you navigated and always relate it back to your story overall. Now, the next thing is being specific. High ticket clients only buy when you are specific. This is what increases that desire overall. And so I had to really, really lean into being very specific and being very repetitive. I've literally brought up this specific point a bunch of times already, but OMG, is this important? There's a reason, right? Because this is what increases desire. If I'm going to just be like, hey, this is how to make 6 figures, you're going to want a niche, and you're going to want to have a content strategy, and then you're going to want to be able to launch. Cool, thank you, but that is not helping me create desire for your program, because it's so generic and you're not actually getting to the problem solving. And whenever I actually focus on that, I start to see more of a desire for my program versus an overall, like, this is what to do, yada, 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 yada. I start to really help people in that way. And especially when I also help them solve and navigate certain problems help them overcome some roadblocks and giving them value in some sort of sense. So if I can explain to them something and then give them a solution and focus really quick, if I can go lean in a specific way, then they'll feel more of an understanding of why they should listen to me versus it just always being do this, do that, do that, do this, right? And so being specific and it's now taking from the offer story and finding what problems you're overcoming, what you're navigating, and then making content on that is a really good way to spread out the offer story. It's a really good way to build desire for your program. And that is overall what I kept focusing on as well on my stories every day, talking about a shift every day, talking about what they need and why. You know, a biggest thing that I focused on with clients so much was they wanted to really jump right into, you know, immediately telling people, oh, you need an offer, like this example. If I were, because what I'm talking about right now is like creating an offer story. So if I were to immediately be like, hey, you need to go create an offer story, I'm not really going to be convinced. You need to tell me, you need to hook me in a little bit more. You need to tell me why. And initially that's going to either come from a problem that's very current for them, or that's going to become from like more of a transformational hook of, you know, this is what I did to scale my business and to 6 figures. And then I can lean into offer story. And then now they're more convinced because they can see why they need to listen and why it's important and what they're doing wrong. And that's how you create someone who's very much behind your offer, because now they're aware of everything and now they're getting these results from you and aha moments, and then they slowly start to become a paying client. And overall, the takeaway is if your audience understands now how you're going to get there, they're going to start to feel this desire and belief. They're going to resonate. They're going to see themselves in it. And then that's how they're going to start to feel like this is also the path that they can also follow. And that's how you create desire. That is it for this episode. I hope this series helped you. I hope you got some good notes. Always good and reminder to re-listen, and you always kind of catch something different every time you re-listen to it, and maybe you can take notes, sit down, plan out your next launch, plan out how you're going to approach your sales, and let me know how it goes. Go send me a DM on Instagram. And as always, thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next one.